What's up, my fellow Vikings and Shield Maidens? We are back with episode 21 of the Compassionate Viking podcast, and I am so fucking excited about this podcast, even though it's a solo podcast, because I recently learned some new shit that I've been searching for, I don't know, the last 20 weeks, I guess. I know I've talked about it on my early episodes, but I had a fucking hell of a time trying to find out more, and the universe delivered, and because of that, I have had a fantastic day, and I am super pumped. So, let's get right on with the herb of the week so that we can get on with the podcast. I picked stinging nettles for herb of the week because, well, let me just tell you a little story of what happened to me. So, I'm a rookie farmer. Even though some people think that I know what I'm doing, I don't really fucking know what I'm doing. I'm just winging it and learning and growing, and whatever happens, whatever sticks, and fuck it. That's all I can do. So, last year, around springtime, I noticed that we have stinging nettles all over the property. And obviously, if anybody knows what they are, you walk by them, they sting like shit, and, well, you find out what nettles are. So ever since I was a little boy, I know what nettles are. I've ran through bushes of stinging nettles and fucked my whole body up many, many times. And so I was telling the kids about them. Well, I also learned that they're very nutritious, and they're a great food for us to eat, and they help us tremendously. So I started researching a little bit more, how to harvest, what to do with them, how do you cook them, how do you prepare them, and that was last year. Well, at that time, it was too late in the season. They had already flowered, and they're, tough and bitter and old. So I figured, okay, Vanessa and I will wait till this season. So the other day I was walking out, walking around, and I looked down, and I happened to see all the nettles coming up. And I'm like, nice. This year, I'm going to pick them when they're babies. That way they're not tough and bitter. So me being me, I'm fucking out there, and I reach down and I just pick one, and it stings my finger, and I throw it in my mouth, and I start chewing on it, and it stings the fuck out of the top of my mouth, my tongue, all my lips, and I start laughing. I was out there by myself. I start laughing, and I'm like, you stupid motherfucker. This is total rookie mistake. If I was to do this on like a wild crafting adventure or a foraging adventure on people who know what they're doing, they would be laughing so hard at me. So I learned the lesson the hard way. When it comes to using the stinging nettles, you have to cook them first. Otherwise, you're going to be in for a rude awakening like I was. So lesson learned, and fuck it. That's how my life has always been, and I'm sure that's how my life will always be. But there's one thing for sure. I learned my lesson. So let's pull out the book here, and let's read a little bit. This person, whoever wrote the book, says, I love stinging nettle, though I know many who don't due to its sting. It is nutritious, medicinal, and makes beautiful fiber. I even have a nettle dock usually growing near it and can be used to take away the sting. It is in the Lamiaceae family. Identification, stinging nettle is a perennial, meaning it comes back every year, growing from 3 to 8 feet tall. It is a deciduous and herbaceous, dying back in the winter. So that means that all the leaves in the stem fucking die down. It looks like there's no plant, and then in the spring, all of a sudden a new one pops up. Edible uses. The leaves are edible. Stinging nettles have a flavor similar to mild spinach when cooked. I eat them raw by folding over the leaves, but most people blanch them in water to remove the sting before cooking and eating. So she fucking ate it raw. I guess you can eat it raw. Maybe I just did it the wrong way. I feel like when you chew it up, though, it's going to sting your mouth. I don't know. Only eating stinging nettle leaves before the flowers appear. Beyond that time, they can cause internal irritation, especially of the urinary tract. The seeds are also edible. Dried nettle leaves and flowers make a very nice herbal tea. Medicinal uses. Nettles can be taken as a tea or tincture and is my number one go-to for allergies. So, springtime's coming here, or I guess March 21st. So, it's coming here. and there's going to be a lot of pollen in the air. People are going to start getting allergies. So this is a good thing, especially if you're up here in the Pacific Northwest. There's fucking nettles everywhere. I mean, if you know me or you're at jiu-jitsu and you want nettles, let me know. You can come over and harvest your own. Okay, perfect. Allergies, including hay fever. Stinging nettle tincture is my first recommendation for allergies, as it usually completely alleviates the problem. I often recommend coupling it with local raw honey. It is an excellent anti-inflammatory. Arthritis, gout pain, and inflammation. To the homies in jiu-jitsu who have gout, and for me who has arthritis in my ankle, and anyone else who's doing hard shit, working out, blue-collar job, exercising, doing yoga, any of that. I'm sure you have some type of inflammation, especially if we're not eating 100% pure, raw, organic food. Stinging nettles is your answer here. Stinging nettle treats arthritis, gout, and other inflammatory conditions. It suppresses inflammation, flushes toxins from the body, and helps reduce the pain of these conditions. It is used in Germany as a treatment for rheumatoid arthritis and is thought to inhibit the cascade of inflammation. Externally, a compress made by soaking a cotton pad in nettle tincture and placing it over the painful joint is helpful. Stinging in an area can also help restore and repair joint injuries and reestablish nerve communication. I have used it successfully for shoulder injuries. Also for eczema and skin inflammations. Both the internal tincture and infusion of stinging nettles are useful for treating eczema and other skin inflammation. It helps with burns, insect bites, and wounds. Menstrual problems. Women with heavy uterine bleeding and other menstrual problems benefit from stinging nettle. Sprains, cramps, tendinitis, and sciatica. Dude, I need to be taking way more of this fucking nettle. I have a lot of these problems from jiu-jitsu and from swinging a hammer and an axe. Like, my sciatic and my joints hurt from jiu-jitsu, but lately I've gotten tendinitis in both of my elbows from swinging hammers and axes, and it's so irritating. Stimulates blood flow, anemia, cardiac insufficiency, swellings, enlarged spleen, and as a whole body tonic. It's good for a hair rinse. It says use nettle tea as a hair rinse to increase shine. Couple it with horsetail and rosemary for maximum results. Here's a recipe for a nettle infusion. It says you will need 1 tablespoon dried and crushed nettle leaves and 1 cup boiling water. Pour the boiling water over the nettle leaves and allow it to steep for 10 to 15 minutes. Strain and drink twice daily. So there it is, folks. Stinging nettle coming up here in the Pacific Northwest. Mine are about 4 inches tall. Some of them are about 12 inches tall. So within the next few weeks, we should have our own herbs to help heal ourselves, which is really cool. And now we can get on with the podcast, which I'm so fucking stoked about. Hey guys, before we start the podcast, I want to give a huge shout out to NFS Company out in Colorado Springs. They had their fucking grand opening, and now you can go in the store and check out all of their cool shit. Remember, they got firearms, they got ammo, they got optics, tactical gear, suppressors, you name it, they have it. Not only that, they can find the rare shit. For instance, I got my Glock 19 FDE from them, and it's kind of hard to come by. They found it, had it to me in 2 days. That's amazing. I'm all the way up in Washington, and they're in Colorado, so you can't fucking beat that. On top of that, anyone looking for preparedness for firearms training, they got a private range out there with a badass 10th Group Special Forces instructor. I don't know if you guys know, but finding people with that expertise is kind of hard to come by these days. So get on top of that. Go to www.nfsshootingsupply.com, or you can find them on Instagram at nofuckingslack.co. On their Instagram is where you can find their schedule. If you're interested in anything, make sure that you support American-made shit, guys. This is how we're going to change the world. No fucking slack. Fucking A. Dude, I learned the coolest shit, and I'm so excited because the universe delivered to me after I've been searching and searching and searching and searching. One of the things I've noticed is that in my life, I reach certain levels at things, such as if I'm working, say I'm welding, and I get so good at welding, and then I plateau, and then I'll come across like a job or something where it's like, I can't figure it out. And then all of a sudden one day, somehow, some way, boom, it gets figured out. And then I'm on this upward trajectory for X amount of time, and then it plateaus again, and I run into the same thing. That happens to me in literally everything I do. Jiu-jitsu happens the most, where like I learn a few new moves, or my movement gets a little bit better, or my grips get a little bit tighter, or whatever little shit that I learn. And then I'm on this upward trajectory, and I can tell that I'm kicking ass and taking names, and then all of a sudden one day it feels stagnant and I can't figure it out. It's like I don't know. And the answer is you just keep showing up at whatever that may be or look for you. You just keep doing it, and one day you break through the plateau and off to the next fucking plateau. And so for me, the most recent thing that I've really been wanting to figure out was the harnessing of energy out of the ether. I don't know what it is that fascinates me so much, but I've came across enough people now to know, and enough patents to see that free energy actually exists. I think the government's stolen like 5,000 patents of free energy, so that kind of tells you that right now, or right there. But also there's people that I've now personally gone back and looked up. And one of the things that interests me a lot about it is the fact that when I look at old world architecture, all the cathedrals, all the mosques, all the castles, all like the important buildings back in the day all had this antenna of either copper or gold or brass, some type of like antenna structure that is at the top of the building or the top of the dome or the top of the pyramid or whatever it is. And so what I'm learning is they were harnessing energy. So in my first episodes, I don't remember what one it was, but I had mentioned like copper tools, iron tools, kind of the difference. I don't remember how much I went into it, but I'm going to go into it today. And how inverted our whole way of learning and thinking has become. It's not normal. This is not the normal way. For thousands and thousands of years, humans were doing something a completely different way that we were told was shitty, and they had horse and buggy and a fucking donkey with some hammers and chisels and a bunch of nonsense, really. If you have any type of brain whatsoever, go back and look at pictures and architecture from 1800s prior, and you tell me that these people were walking around with a fucking leather sack and some provisions, and they haven't showered in God knows 2 months, and they got a fucking janky-ass donkey on one leg. No, I'm not buying it. And I wanted to learn more about it, but it's really hard to find. It's really hard to, like, get the information. I can get information on Tartaria. I can get information on civilizations. I can get information on all that, but I cannot get the information on what they were doing and what their technology was and how they were using it. And so, I don't know, a while back, I was listening to a farming podcast, and someone, or permaculture or something, and I had listened to a guy talk about putting copper around a stick and putting it into the ground, and that was going to do some shit for Mother Nature, essentially. Well, I want to know more about it. And I don't even know I don't know what it's called. I don't know what to look for. I mean, I was typing in to search engines like wrapping copper around stick in yard and making more plants. Like anything that I could think of that would maybe have that pop up on the algorithm. No, not So it's like, okay, well, do I give up? Fuck no. You just gotta keep trying. And 2 days ago, I was listening to a podcast, and all of a sudden this guy, the interviewer, goes, so why don't you introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about yourself? And so I'm listening to this guy, and all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I'm into harnessing fucking free energy and all this different shit. And, I'm growing my own food, and I found how to, essentially amplify Mother Nature's frequency to create more electromagnetism in the soil, which, because there's more magnetism, it can hold more volts, and the more volts it has means the more energy it has. The more energy has, the more life is going to come. And I'm like, oh, dude, this is it. This is it. The universe fucking delivered. You just keep showing up, and somehow, some way, it just manifests itself into my life, and I learn. And so I'm at work, and I'm listening to this shit, and it's like, dude, I can't even work. I can't stand going to work as it is. I'm not meant to be a part of the matrix, and every time I'm there, I'm like, fuck, what has to happen for me not to come here anymore? Like, I want to do food forest. I want to do harnessing free energy. I want to be out there fucking busting chemtrails and geoengineering. I want to be on the podcast spitting fucking truth to the world so that we can all figure out how to harmonize and love one another and not be fighting and wanting to kill everybody and pointing the finger somewhere else, when in reality, even the fucking clowns down there protesting and breaking shit and flipping cars over, they're pissed off too. We're all pissed off at the same people, but no one really understands who they're actually mad at. They just point the finger, when all humans want the same thing. We want love, we want experience, we want memories, we want to do cool shit, and we want to be left the fuck alone. So, I'm listening to this podcast, and I'm writing shit down, and I'm like, I'm starting to understand, because it's going into things that I've already been taught before. And I had this epiphany of like, well, it's not my epiphany. It's just a thought of a quote that I've heard many times before. And the quote is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And I look at my situations always, and it's like, oh, of course it had to happen right now. Because now I'm at the point where I can actually absorb the information, retain it, and then use that knowledge out in the real world, and then pass it on, for instance, to you guys. And it all goes back to me, working with nature versus against nature. I see the way that the world is created right now, or structured right now through society, is to constantly work against nature. And it's like, dude, if you work with nature, things will be easy and harmonious. If you work against nature, it fucking destroys you. Can you not look around and see that? So, another thing that came to my mind was the fact that, like, when I say, like, get in tune with nature or get connected with nature, like, what does that even mean? Well, to some, it might be like, go stand outside. Which, sure, I mean, that's more connected with nature than sitting inside. But I mean, like, fucking hang out, talk to it, chant, meditate, touch a tree, stand barefoot, watch the birds, watch the bugs. Understand that every single thing that you see has to be there working in harmony for us to have this beautiful life. You can't just take one out of the other. Well, it seems like with everything going on in the world, there's a lot of despair, a lot of hopelessness, a lot of fucking low vibe shit. And I'm sick of it. I literally can't even stand being around people who have low vibration. I can feel it from a ways away, and it's like repulsive to me. I'm not into that anymore. And so, at what point do we stop bitching about stuff that we see, especially as men, and start solving the problems? Well, I look at it like this. I have two theories. or not, maybe they're not theories. I have two thoughts. And one is, there's no fucking way these people or beings or reptilians or whatever the fuck they are stronger than Mother Nature herself. I don't believe that for 1 second. That's why they're doing what they're doing, because they can't actually control us. So it's gonna end up biting them in the ass no matter what. But complaining without a solution is just limp dicking around. We need solutions. And I believe that with every problem, there's solutions. And there's probably many, many solutions. And I was just talking to a dude at work where it's like, my life is literally like a jiu-jitsu metaphor. I started training jiu-jitsu, and then somehow I can see jiu-jitsu in every aspect of my life. I go to work, and there's times where I think about jiu-jitsu. People are stressed out, running around being manic. And in my head, it's like, bro, you haven't even fucking felt stressed out yet. You never had a 220-pound gorilla be on top of you, literally trying to kill you. But as long as you say you give up, he'll let go. You've never felt those feelings. Most people have never felt the subconscious feeling of literally life or death. And when you get accustomed to that over years and years and years of literally training fucking multiple times every single week for those years and years and years against other savage, strong, tough motherfuckers, life does not stress you out the same way as it once did. I hardly am. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not stressed out. I am stressed out because I'm so busy. But my problems of stress are far different than they've ever really been in my life. My whole life, all of my problems of stress was related to lack thereof, lack of resources, running out, all this different shit. And now my stress is different problems, and that's abundance problems, which aren't real problems, but they do give you stress. I have so much to do in so little a time. I have this to do and that to do, and I want to make sure that I'm still fucking good at all of it, and I'm not spreading myself too thin, and what's the next move that I'm going to do to keep the upward success path. And that's stressful because that's my job and I have to figure it out, and I don't fucking have the answers. I have no idea. I just do, I guess. So my point is I see jiu-jitsu everywhere. When I went to my ayahuasca ceremonies, it felt like spiritual jiu-jitsu, where my spirit was just getting ragdolled. And that's okay. That was good learning lessons. And then I see this war that we're in, really, this spirit war or information war or energy war, whatever it is that we're in right now, that we all know, whether people say it or not, they fucking know. I know damn well they know. They may not know what's going on, but in their heart, they know that whatever is going on is not normal. There is a counter. In jiu-jitsu, there is no end-all be-all. There is no one fucking move that's gonna work every single time. There's a move that you do, and then there's a counter to that move. And then if the other guy's good, he'll counter the counter that you just did. And if you're really good, you'll counter the counter that he just countered to the original move. And it goes on and on and on and on until one person fucks up, and that's how it goes. Then they win. And I had this thought today as I was welding a bunch of shit. I go, I feel like this war is like a jiu-jitsu match. Like for a long time, I felt hopeless. I felt helpless. I felt no one's waking up. I'm going to be in it by myself, blah, blah, blah. A bunch of bullshit that I told myself. And then recently, it's like, no, you just got to counter it. You got to counter the fucking whatever it is that they're trying to do. And the things that I've been learning are literally the counters to all of the moves that I call them the bad guys, that the bad guys are trying to fucking do to us. And because of that, it makes life like almost fun to me. Like, I'm a fighter at heart. In my heart, I love fighting. And it doesn't have to be physically fighting. It could be like this, where it's like a spiritual fight, a mental fight. It's just like the competitive nature of me believing that I can fucking win somehow, some way. And now that I'm like learning how to win the fight, it makes the fight a hell of a lot more fun. A hell of a lot more fun. So, a few things that I find would be good counters to what's going on is, for instance, this free energy harnessing. If we could figure out how to counter the energy, then you don't have to plug something into a wall anymore. You don't have to worry about going to a gas station and paying, and you can only go X amount of miles. Like, I don't know how to explain it well enough because this is not my profession here, but people need to understand what free energy actually is. It means that you never have to charge something, you never have to buy fuel, you never have to plug something in, which most people have no idea. So I'm listening to this fucking podcast, and he's talking about harnessing the energy and putting it into the ground and what it's doing. And I'll get into that in a minute. But I got home and I was like, I have to fucking do this. So I go to Lowe's to go get copper wire. They don't sell copper wire without it being coated or in like a triple strand or whatever. I'm not going to sit there and strip the coating off the fucking wire. I just want raw copper wire, a spool of it. They don't have it. I go to Tractor Supply. They don't have it. Then they tell me to go to the electrician, the electrical shop down the road. I go there, and out of all three places, no one can help me. Everyone has a fucking low vibration. They're like not being very nice or kind at all, which I always say hi. I ask people how they're doing. I smile at them. I say thank you. I say please. I say may I. I use my manners. I have respect. I want people to engage with one another and smile and laugh and have fun. I mean, if you're just going to be miserable every day of your life, might as well just shoot your fucking brains out, because being miserable is, to me, worse than death. I would rather die than be fucking miserable. And I know, because I've been there. And that's why I'm not miserable anymore, because that sucks. That shit's for the birds. So this guy's like, well, what do you need copper for, man? And I go, well, so I can harness some energy. And mind you, I'm at the electrician place. And he's like, huh? I go, like fucking wrapping coils of copper wire and sticking it into the ground with an antenna to harness the energy out of the ether, put it in the ground to create electromagnetism, amplified at like 432 hertz. And he looks at me and he's like, you would have thought I'd said that I was hanging out with aliens. Oh, which right over his head. But that's okay. But you know what? That planted a seed. He'll never forget that. He'll be like, dude, one time this fucking guy told me that he was going to get electricity out of the air. And it's like, yeah, I did. That's exactly what I said. So I start really deep diving into what's going on. And it doesn't have to be just about food. Like lately and on this podcast, we're going to talk about food a lot, because food to me is like very essential. Without it, we're going to die, right? We're going to starve to death. So food is very high priority for me. But in my opinion, or it's not even my opinion, it's fact, food and life and nature, it's all encompassing. So if your food's growing good, then that means all the other shit's growing good too, because the earth works in balance and in harmony, and one's not going to be thriving while the other one's dying. It doesn't work that way. So right now, if you ask a typical gardener or farmer who isn't like, I don't know, probably who they know the standard way, of tilling and monoculture and planting the same shit. The reason why they do all of the things they do is so that they can grow good food. They have to till the soil because it's too compacted and the roots can't get through it. Then they have to use fertilizer because there's no organic matter and nitrogen in the soil. They have to use insecticides so that the bugs doesn't eat it. They have to use herbicides so that whatever else doesn't fucking eat it. They got to GMO patent it so that they can patent food, because you can't patent nature, so they modify shit so that they can put a patent on it, and then you can pay for it and you can own it. There's the price tag on it if they can get a patent. And I look at it now after the things that I've learned, and I'm like, man, we have to, like, all of that is working against nature. Every single one of those things is working against nature. The tilling, the fertilizer, the GMO shit, all the herbicides, insecticides. And so what I've been finding out is that when plants are healthy, they don't get the bad bugs. They're not getting eaten up. The reason why plants are being eaten up is because that's Mother Nature's way of getting rid of that plant so that it doesn't spread. And it's like, really? I've seen some pretty good looking plants, some pretty healthy looking plants being eaten. And I go back to like a human. Well, I also see pretty healthy human be a drug addict, or maybe not healthy, but on the outside looks healthy, but they're addicted to opiates. I've seen pretty healthy people all of a sudden get cancer and die. I've seen stud men fucking get ill and die. So just because something looks good doesn't necessarily mean it is. So then I start looking into Wilhelm Reich, who's the guy that I talked about harnessing the orgone energy and making the orgone generators and healing people with sound frequency and cymatics. And there's another guy named Victor Schauberger who was also doing, experiments like this. And what he had found out is that from like the 1750s and maybe before, the Bronze Age, okay? The 1750s, maybe that's not the Bronze Age. Maybe I should take that back. We'll just say 1750s to fucking late 1800s, people were farming only with copper, okay? Only with copper. And the reason for that being is that copper amplifies the electromagnetism in the earth, and it's a conductor, and it harnesses energy. So it seems woo-woo to most people, but there's many, like, the proof is in the pudding. And I'm now going to start doing it because of how much I've researched. And the crazy thing is, all these dudes in the 1800s, they're all fucking dead. They were all outcasted. They're all exiled. They're all dead. And that raises a red flag, because why are these people dying? And, well, because they were showing that you don't need to have fertilizer and all this stuff. So once you put this copper in the ground, wrapped around the stick with an antenna sticking up into the ether, it starts amplifying the magnetism. And like I said before, as the magnetism increases, it is going to start bringing in more stuff, because things are attracted to the positive energy. As it brings in more stuff, it's going to start to become more imbalanced and more harmonious. From what I was researching, this guy said, like, the animals are going to want to hang out where you put these things, because most animals are based off of magnetic frequencies and ley lines of the earth. For instance, why do birds do a big circle before they fucking go anywhere? Because they need to get a map of the ley lines so they know where they're going, right? They need to get their magnetic north. Why does a dog spin like 4 times before he takes a shit? Because he's got to get magnetic north. He's going off of a frequency. So everything's going to start being attracted to this. The plants apparently will be growing 3 to 5 times taller. From what I understand, you will not need, this is the craziest fucking part to me, you guys. Like, even I still can't wrap my head around it. And this is part of why I'm so excited, is because if this works, dude, the solution, the counter to their stupid fucking move is so easy that even a child can do it. And that's good. That's what we want. We don't want these difficult ass, solutions. So what happens is, as everything starts building up, you don't actually need compost anymore. You don't need manure anymore. You don't need herbicides. You don't need insecticides, because everything is working together in the proper magnetism frequency. And that's crazy. And then you have this guy. I have so many notes here, you guys. I sit at work and I listen to these podcasts, and as I'm welding, I have my notepad next to me, and anytime I hear cool shit, I just write it down. And now I have notebooks of just like writings, which is really cool. Well, I don't know exactly who it was. It was either Victor Schauberger, I think his name's Jay Keeley, Wilhelm Reich, one of those fucking dudes, was showing that when you put iron into the ground, it depletes the magnetism. It dries out the soil. It kills it kills the frequency. And once the frequency is killed, then there's that's when you're going to need fertilizer and manure and all this shit. So if we can bring back the magnetism, it's going to come back to life. There's stories of people, for instance, the stick that they put in their ground. Some people are putting it in the ground and it's like a dead stick that they just wrapped up. And like 8 weeks later, all of a sudden that stick's growing leaves. It doesn't even have fucking roots. And it's like, how is that possible? Well, I don't know. Part of me is wondering, like, is the shit really dead? Is it actually dead, or is it just dormant, hibernating because it doesn't have the right environment to live in? Which goes back to what I said in the Enlightened Neanderthals podcast of germ theory versus terrain theory. I believe that everything is based off of our terrain. And when the terrain is not proper, then it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Matter of fact, I just found out today that disease can only survive in certain frequencies. So a human who has a highly elevated vibration is not getting sick, because disease can't actually be within that frequency. It has to be a lower vibration. So that's crazy. I mean, I don't remember the exact same numbers, but this chick was saying, like, 58 hertz, you're going to have a cold. 57 hertz, you're going to have a flu. Like all these different things. At 35, if your vibration is at 35, you're on, like, you're starting to die. So raising our vibration is very important. Well, that goes with the soil too. When what is it? After World War II, DDT for me. We sprayed DDT everywhere. It killed millions and millions and millions of birds and plants and animals and insects. And then without all of that, the frequency is going to be fucked up. And we're going to switch from copper to iron. We're going to start fucking tilling and plowing the ground. And the Rockefellers and big agriculture pretty much sold us on, hey, if you want to grow crops, it's really hard. It's a lot of fucking work. And you have to use all of these products that DuPont's going to sell you. You see how that works? Well, they've done other studies where if you take like a shovel, I think they did a study where they take a copper shovel and a steel shovel, or an iron shovel. It might not have been steel, iron, we'll just say. And they shoved it in the ground right next to each other. And the steel shovel is very, like, he had to step on it and smash it in. And the copper shovel goes right in, because it's not going against the magnetism, right? If you try and push two magnets together, they're gonna, depending on what the polarity is, they're gonna repel apart, which would make it very hard to fucking get them to stick. Whereas if you flip it the other way, it will go click right together with ease. And that's essentially what they're saying is happening. Well, then I came across this other fucking dude from the late 1700s, and he was doing, I think his name was Dan, maybe it wasn't late 1700s. I have 3 dudes here, and I can't remember who's who. We'll just start with this guy. There's this dude who is making pyramids, okay? So, actually, let me backtrack. Remember that I've talked about cymatics, using sound frequency to heal and to, levitate or make anti-gravity, which is all proven. It's not a theory. Go look it up. People are doing it now, even on YouTube. You can fucking see it. I see shit. Well, my phone picks up what I talk about, and then I'll be scrolling on Instagram, and all of a sudden I'll see some fucking people doing cymatics with water, making shit levitate, using copper coils and magnets. I know that red mercury is a huge, huge part of harnessing that electricity. But anyways, there's this guy who was making pyramids, and pyramids are sacred geometry, and most of the pyramids, or maybe all, I don't know, the pyramids that we have on planet Earth, which is a lot more than just the Great Pyramid of Giza or the pyramids in Egypt. There's pyramids literally on every continent all around the world. They're all on ley lines. Why? Well, because of the magnetism. So a pyramid is sacred geometry, and at the top of a pyramid, it puts off 28 kilohertz. That's the frequency it gives off, okay? Well, here's the deal. This guy made pyramids and found that when he would place food on the top of the pyramid, it would preserve. If he was to put food inside the pyramid, it would preserve. Just the shape alone is preserving the food. No refrigerator, no fucking freeze dryer, no dehydrator, no canning, no nothing. You just put the food in the pyramid and it will preserve it. That seems woo to me. I've never seen this. I haven't came across this, but I'm definitely open to it, and I'm going to start looking more into it. Then I'm listening, and I started thinking about the dude I was listening to had brought something up. Oh, about the bees. How bees don't fly. Bees levitate. They buzz their wings at a certain frequency, and then they levitate. And the wings on a fucking bumblebee are not even close to big enough to get that fat guy moving around. The same with a beetle. I don't know if it's all beetles, but I know that the wood beetles, the little black beetles that you see flying around, same thing with them. Well, this dude would take a bee or a beetle, and then he would use his microscope and zoom in on the wings. And on the wings, they are pyramids, literally stacked up on each other. Well, I just went over, the pyramids emit that sacred geometry, that pattern emits a certain frequency, 28 kilohertz. That is the same frequency as the pyramid. It's in the bees. So you're telling me the people who fucking built the pyramids, they with their sticks and stones and their one-legged donkeys, they happened to just randomly build a pyramid with 28 kilohertz, which is exactly the same as on a bee and a beetle in their wing that puts off the same frequency to levitate? Is that what these people at my school and whoever else are trying to tell me? I'm not buying it. Whoever came before us clearly had way, way more knowledge and was way more in tune with whatever the fuck we're on and whatever we're doing than we are by a long shot. You can levitate things using pyramids, using certain frequencies. Then I go back to this old world architecture, Tartarian infrastructure, and you look at the cathedrals, and you look at all of these places, what was it that they all had? Well, they all had a giant bell that probably rung. Well, they're all gone now. They took them all down and destroyed them all, but I'm sure they rung at a certain frequency. Then, before the Roman Catholic Church infiltrated and took over, they weren't churches. They were generator stations, and they all had pipe organs, humongous ones, probably emitting certain frequencies. Every one of those cathedrals has perfect acoustics to resonate whatever frequency that specific generator building is emitting. You look at their windows, and they're in the same shapes as the cymatics of water, with like love and beauty and those intentions put into it when frozen and looked under a microscope. Then you look at the stained glass and the certain colors of the full spectrum light coming through, which also changes things. You look at the gems, whether it's quartz crystals or whatever, and as the light prisms blast through those crystals, it's emitting certain frequencies. And for anyone who's listening, like, that's not true. Yes, it is. Go get an EKG meter and start fucking metering all of this shit. You'll be surprised how much energy is all around us. Dude, you are a fucking battery yourself. You are an energetic being. You are running off of voltage and electricity. I don't know how else to say it, man. That's how it is. And so as I look back and I see that whoever fucking made all this shit knew how to heal. They weren't just healing the human race. They're healing Earth. And I want to get back to that. I want to get back to seeing what this place would be like when humans put their effort into making it a better place rather than just being a self-serving piece of shit. The other thing is Dan Carlson actually brought he built a boombox, and in the boombox he had bird chirping noises at whatever frequency birds chirp at. I think it's still 432. I'm pretty sure that's Mother Nature's like default frequency. I could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. Anyways, he was bringing this boombox out and putting it in his plant, like next to his plants. And the birds chirping, that frequency actually enabled the plants to open up. Like they would open up, they would grow bigger, they would grow faster. Plants literally are in tune with the birds around you. The birds' chirps is what's allowing the plants, flowers, to open up so that they can come get pollinated, which is crazy. The rooster crows at 4:30 in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, not because he just wants to crow, but because it's time for Mother Nature to wake up. The flowers, the plants, they're going to wake up when they hear the rooster crow based off of the energy frequency. It's a change in tune. Literally, it's a change in tune. And this is all fucking blowing my mind. Like, I don't know why. I just think that it's so cool and it's like magic. And if it actually works, then what do you call it? One of these dudes was exiled in Wilhelm Reich when he was healing people with his orgone generator, putting people in the fucking box for a few hours and healing them of all their shit. And then he goes and tries to get it like patented or whatever. And the government tells them, sorry, it can't be backed by science. Like science doesn't back this. And he's like, I don't care. Like the proof is right here. I will show you all of the results. I mean, it speaks for itself. And they're like, yeah, we get that, but science, it can't be backed by science. So exiled, Mr. Wilhelm Reich. Sorry, bro. And that's how it works. They have to keep us down. If this information gets out, you guys, these people are fucked. Because you cannot put a price tag on free energy. We can grow all our own food. We can travel as far as we want. We no longer have to put time and effort into energy harvesting. We already have we would have already set in place all of the energy we would ever need, and all of us humans would every day be on a journey of adventure with whatever that looks like for each person. Doesn't that seem way better than waking up and going to work and doing the same fucking thing every single goddamn day for 60 years to spend 10 years when you're an old crepit dude and fucking retire and die, and all your shit gets left behind anyways? No one brings a fucking U-Haul to the funeral. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I can't wait. I can't wait for the next few years to see what my future looks like and what we're all going to do together, because we're all connecting every single day. And I don't even know. There's something about getting in touch and connecting back to each other, back to the earth, back to everything, that it feels different. I've never felt this way in my entire life. Never have I felt this way. And I feel like I have a fucking purpose now. My purpose is to restore this goddamn place. And however that is, that's what I need to do. I don't speak the truth, relay messages, crush, be cool, be fit, be an inspiration, be an admiration. I'm willing to do all that. I'm going to do all that. Whatever it takes for me to convince the population that loving and building and growing and providing and protecting and sharing is much better than killing and hating and being miserable and low vibration and negativeness and all this shit. And that brings me to intentions. You can literally kill your plants by having bad intentions. They did a study. This is going to blow your guys' mind. Even I can't even believe it. But I kind of can because I have a little bit, not firsthand experience, but I know the frequency in my garden. And it's so awesome. And my plants are growing so good and I love them so much. And like I said, I talk to them, I sing to them, I rub them, I pet them, anytime I pick them, I tell them how grateful I am for them and how much I love having them here and being a part of the family. All that shit. And you know what? There's truth to it, you guys. There's literal evidence that it makes a difference. There was a study done where they were doing EKG readings on dude's plants and trees. He got in like a car accident 2,000 miles away and his plants were wilted over at home. Is that crazy? So the plant's owners have a direct relation with the owner. So here's the deal. If you are one who has a brown thumb, or you can't get stuff started, or you're having a hard time growing or keeping things alive, what is your intentions? Is your intentions, this sucks, this is hard, I hate doing this, I can't figure it out, my plants never grow? Because if those are your intentions and your thoughts, you are creating cymatics, and the cymatics directly go into whatever it is, water specifically, and your plant is made up mostly of water, and therefore, if you have bad intentions, you have created ill cymatics, and within ill cymatics, you're going to get dead plants. Do it the other way. Be grateful. Ask it. Say, what is it that I need to give you, buddy? I want to hang out with you. I want you to grow. I want you to love living with me. I want you to want to provide for me just like I want to provide for you. And now we have harmony again. When we do this, our plants will grow exponentially different. It's fucking proven. Mushrooms is a whole nother thing, you know? Mushrooms are closer to us than plants. And mushrooms, I think, are like next level superfoods. And most people when they hear me talk about mushrooms, they think I'm talking about fucking magic mushrooms, which sure, those have their benefits and their place too. But no, there's like 5 million different species of mushrooms on the planet. And for the most part, no, they're not. The ones I'm talking about are not magic. They are chaga mushroom. They are lion's mane mushroom. They're cordyceps mushroom. They're reishi mushroom or turkey tail or chicken of the woods or shiitake. There's There's all these different mushrooms that they help us so much. And what it goes back to, it just goes back to the magnetism. It goes back to the minerals and nutrients and what I talk about life force energy, chi, prana, sexual organ or sexual energy. It's all the same. It's all just life force energy. It's creation. It's creation energy. And we need to start to harness it. We need to start to understand it. We need to start to relate to it. Because to me, this is next level shit. If we all come together and we start doing this, I put 4, I call them magic wands, 4 little magic wands on the property today. And so we'll see what happens. Because just because you go buy an organic Honeycrisp apple at the store doesn't mean that there's any fucking nutrients in it. And we don't live off of the fullness of our belly. We live off of the minerals and nutrients within us. And humans can adapt very well. So you can be living a whole life where you think you're full, but really you're mineral deficient. And in my opinion, 98% of Americans are malnourished. Period. Sure, they're fat, but they're malnourished. They don't have the proper minerals and nutrients in their body, because if they did, they wouldn't want all of the other things. They wouldn't want all of the bad shit. And I see people taking vitamins and shit all the time. It's like, you got to take a vitamin D and a vitamin C and a vitamin A and a magnesium and a copper and a zinc and blah, 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 blah. And you take one. It's like, okay, but you're taking one when we have to have thousands or millions or however many there are. Go eat a fucking chaga mushroom. Go eat a reishi mushroom. Like a teaspoon of that mushroom has like an unbelievable amount of nutrients in it. I think, what's that fucking plant called? Moringa, I think is what it's called. Moringa. Yeah, I think a moringa tree. I think like 3 tablespoons of that a day is all the nutrients and minerals you need for a whole entire day. Just that alone. So to me, it's like the supplements are retarded. Sorry, guys, but they are. Just go get a plant. One herb usually has like 25,000 different fucking nutrients in it. A mushroom's got like 2.5 million in it. There you go. Like, just stick with nature and you'll be better. And you're never going to get in balance if you're taking synthetic shit, period. Because I don't know if any of you guys ever heard primary water, but primary water is the primary water source on planet Earth, okay? In school, we're taught about the rain cycle, where there's fresh water in the rivers and lakes and ocean, and then the sun hits, and then it evaporates, and then it creates clouds, and then the clouds, collect more water until they get so full of water that they fall back down on the earth, and that cycle goes forever. And then now they're telling us that we're running out of water, and that's probably why Walmart just got the patent on water last year, I think, is so that, they can make a profit off of it, even though there is no such thing as lack of resources. Nature doesn't work that way. Because what they don't tell you is that there's a primary water source. And primary water is structured water. And structured water has Earth's cymatics in it, which heal us. And we're not using that. We get secondary water, okay? Let me just say, the difference is that primary water is below, like, under the ocean or under the fucking Earth's crust or whatever it is. There's fresh water. It's an unlimited amount is primary water. This is why, like, people say you can only drill a well so deep. And then if it's more than, I don't know the exact number, 300 feet or whatever, then you got to go somewhere else and you got to find an aquifer within 300 feet. Well, if you go too far, you'll hit primary water and you'll have unlimited water for the rest of your life forever and ever and ever and ever, because that's how our water actually is coming. Not from the fucking clouds, from underneath. All the oceans have primary water source where it's literally shooting pressurized hydrogen and oxygen out of the Earth's crust. And when they're combining together, it's creating H2O molecule, and you're having brand new, pure, fresh, structured, primary fucking water. And that's why most people are dehydrated, because there is no hydrogen in the water anymore. It's not structured. It's secondary water from sewage plants and runoff and fucking lakes and streams. They put dams on all the big rivers to fuck with the structure, because water has to flow in a vortex, as does everything. Everything flows in a vortex. If things are properly vortexed, working in harmony, they're going to be spinning clockwise. If they are out of harmony, like imbalanced, then the vortex is going to be spinning counterclockwise. That's just it's just another little fun fact for you. But water's not supposed to go in straight lines. Look at how we plumb shit. Long straight lines. And as it goes down, it loses structure. And then all the gunk and shit builds up on the sides, and it becomes icky for us. It's not good. Structured water doesn't do that. Back in the day, they would use copper pipes for plumbing rather than plastic. That way, to keep the magnetism in it. They would also not run it in a straight line. They would have curve. That way, the structure was continued all the way to the point you got it. If you look at old watering cans, the old ones, most of them were made of copper, and they poured out slowly. The reason why they poured out slowly is because the neck on the watering can was actually like a loop. It wasn't just a plastic fucking thing with a straight thing that doesn't have any structure. The people back in the day knew about all of this shit. All of it. They knew about the copper. They knew about the electromagnetism. They knew about the ether. They knew about primary water. I mean, Gaddafi was in Libya drilling wells for people, he was drilling primary water wells and getting unlimited water to all these villages and creating fucking essentially free energy and shit. And you know what? They offed him. They fucking killed that man. So, I don't know. Maybe one day they fucking kill me if I figure it out. But I don't care. Kill me. As long as the message gets out to fucking better this world, string me up. I don't give a fuck. All I want is the truth, and I'm tired of the lies and the deceit and all the bullshit, and I'm here to make a difference. So, one last thing before we get off. This ether, what is it? Well, it's the orgone energy. It's the chi. It's the prana. It's the life force. It's that. It's all around us, constant at all times. And the more that I learn about this, the more that I realize that we are already tuned in. We're already connected. We're already all connected to everything. Well, I look at the bad guys, and they want to connect us to the fucking Internet of Things, which will lead to the Internet of Bodies. And the way that they want us to do it is through transhumanism, by putting a fucking brain chip in us and hijacking our imagination, wiping out our VMA type 2 gene, which is the God particle. The one where when a sperm enters into a woman's egg, it creates the spark of life that nobody can fucking answer what it is. And to me, it's like, well, that must be the divine spark. It's when the soul fucking enters the womb or enters the body. I don't know what else. They want to wipe that out. Apparently, the COVID vaccine already was severing that connection. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't really give a fuck because I didn't get that vaccine. But I know their plan, and I know what they're trying to do, and they're trying to connect us to a thing that's artificial. Well, I'm now realizing that I'm already connected into the thing that's natural. And the way that I know that it works is, for one, all this free energy shit. But for two, hanging out with people who have the same vibration as me or opposite than me. I can feel it. I know it as there's times where I go to text or call someone, or I'm thinking about someone, and boom, they call, text, or somehow get in touch with me right when I'm doing it. And it's like, That's odd. Well, how many times does that have to happen before it's not a coincidence, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, and now there's a fucking pattern. And I'm a pattern person. I notice patterns. So if there's a pattern, it's not just random. It's not just random acts of events. Also, if I go take ayahuasca and drink the heart medicine, and supposedly it's like one of the most potent hallucinogenic known to man, and I have an experience, and then the next day someone else tells me an experience that's the exact as my experience, and then some other person comes out of nowhere and I ask them how they're doing, and they tell me about their experience that's the same as my experience, that's the same as the other person's experience. Is that a fucking hallucination? No. A hallucination is where you made up some shit in your mind. When all 3 of us drank the tea and we all had the same fucking experience, that's not a hallucination. We are connected somehow, some way. We can't touch it, taste it, smell it, feel it, or hear it, but there's something there that's connecting all of us. The proof is in the plants. The plants grow when you talk to them. The plants get sad when you're sad, as long as you have a proper relationship with it. I'm starting to think, you know what? The plants want a relationship with us just as bad as we do with them. They're begging for us to go hang out with them. They're a giant antenna. Think of like a fucking cedar tree that's 250 feet tall. Well, that means that the roots go down at least 400 feet. That's a 1,200 foot antenna all the way down into the ground, reaching way the fuck up in the sky. Go touch it. Go hold it. Go put your hands on it. Go give it your intentions. I do. Anytime I'm upset, I'll walk back to my big cedar tree. I put my hands on it and I just tell, I think it's a girl. I feel like that cedar tree is a mama tree. And I tell her, like, please take away my pain and sorrows. It's not helping me. It's not benefiting me. If I stay like this, then it's just going to get worse. I need your help. And you know what? That cedar tree loves helping. It takes my intentions, it shoves it down in its fucking roots, and about 2 to 5 minutes later, I'm back on my normal keel, and I come back. Well, that worked way better than any other fucking thing that I've been doing, and no one ever told me that. Matter of fact, we used to call, like, the hippies tree huggers, as if it was a derogatory statement. Well, I'm a tree hugger. I love hugging the trees. And, I mean, maybe I'm a hippie. Maybe a fucking redneck hippie, if that's a thing. I'm not nothing. I just want us to be fucking back in touch. And I realize that I think a huge part of the depression in this world is because we're out of touch. And our souls know. They know what we want and need. Or maybe not what we want, but they know what we need. And when and what that is that's a connection to this place. And the more natural it can be, the better it is. And I've witnessed that for firsthand experience. Even like, grounding. Like, we have to do it too. We get so full of electrons that we need to go out and ground and get some, put some of that positive electrons back into the fucking ground. People who sleep in like synthetic sheets, polyester sheets, you probably get restless leg syndrome or have bad nights of sleep because there's too much static electricity and there's nowhere for it to go. So maybe we should go back to linen sheets or hemp sheets or cotton sheets. I mean, linen is the only one that produces zero electric. Let me try that again. Linen is the only one that produces zero static electricity. All other things produce some type of electricity. I see now they make like little grounding wire that you can put on your bed, which maybe that would help. The other thing is the higher we get off of the ground, the more we lose voltage and electrons. So, for instance, I'm on the second story right now, and I am losing electrons faster than if I was standing directly on the ground. That means as you go up, it's going to get worse and worse. People who live in apartments, people who live in high-rise buildings, people who live, in those places are probably lacking electrons. They're lacking voltage. They're probably like a robot too, where they're not in tune or in touch with reality and nature and what we're living on at all. They're probably living their best life, which has absolutely nothing to do with anything that I'm talking about. Most people don't give a fuck about anything I'm talking about. And I know why. It used to piss me off that they didn't care. But I don't care anymore because I know why. Has nothing to do with football. Has nothing to do with basketball. Has nothing to do with who's Paris Hilton's fucking. Has nothing to do with Kim Kardashian's new child. And that's why. And that's okay. Because you know what? For the people who are just now learning about this, unless you're really, 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 not learning about this, but learning that like Joe Biden isn't the best president on planet Earth, if you're just now trying to figure that out, you're probably best off just go back and watch your fucking basketball game. And that's okay. Because I understand NPCs and gammas are a real thing, and I don't expect the NPCs and gammas to get it. But for the real human beings, especially the ones who weren't jabbed, the last generation of real human beings, because whether people want to fucking talk about it or not, maybe not everyone who got the jab, but whatever jab had the mRNA shit in it, you are no longer a fucking human being. Sorry, don't know what to say. Doesn't mean that I hate you. Doesn't mean anything. It means that you got duped. And you know what? I've been duped in my life many fucking times. It didn't change my genome. It didn't sever my connection with God. It didn't delete the spark of life or the VMA type 2 gene that human beings have. But whatever, man. If you're getting it and you're understanding that you got duped and you fucking want to learn about all this, I will bring you in and welcome you with open arms. Anyone. I don't care what fucking race you are. I don't care what religion you are. I don't give a fuck if you're a white, black, Mexican, Jew, alien, yellow, starfish. I don't care. That all that shit's petty to me. And if we're still worried about that, then we're not on the same page. I just want people who want to love, want to fucking help, want to grow, want to learn, and want to raise a generation that's better than us. And they get to live on a life and on a earth that's better than the one that we had. So, I'm sure there's many fucking things that I'm missing right now, but we have many more podcasts to do. So, I hope you enjoyed that one this week. A lot of information, kind of all over the place, but I'm stoked. And as I learn more about it, I'll help. If anybody wants to, learn more, get a hold of me. If anyone has questions, not even about that, any questions, topics that you want me to fucking go over, guests that you would like me to have on, anything, send it my way. Please do. I love it. You can get a hold of me at, what is it? Stanaway, Roots and Ravens at gmail.com and on Instagram at Tylerstanaway. If anybody is in the area who wants chicken eggs or duck eggs or starts or wants to learn how to grow mushrooms or wants to learn how to build a hookah culture or wants to learn more about this electroculture or anything that wants to learn how to forge, any of that shit, get a hold of me. That's what I'm here for, and I love teaching. All right, guys. I'll see you next week. Later.